Have you ever stopped mid-thought and wondered, why? Not what you were thinking, but why you were experiencing it at all. Why does the color red have a certain feeling to it? Why does the melody of a song provoke a deep, stirring emotion inside you? Why aren't we just fleshy biological computers, silently processing data like our laptops and smartphones? This question, my friends, isn't just a late-night philosophical musing. It's what thinkers and scientists call the hard problem of consciousness. And the journey to answer it might just unravel everything you thought you knew about yourself and your place in the universe. For centuries, we've been told a simple story. The brain is a machine. A miraculously complex one, yes, but a machine nonetheless. Neurons fire, chemicals flood, synapses, and out of this intricate clockwork comes thought, feeling, and awareness. But this explanation has always felt incomplete. It explains the how of brain function, but never touches the why of subjective experience. It's like describing a masterpiece painting by only listing the chemical composition of the paints used, completely ignoring the breathtaking image they create. This gaping hole in our understanding has paved the way for a theory so radical, so mind-bending, that it was initially dismissed by the scientific community. A theory that suggests the core of your being, the very essence of your I, isn't born from the predictable world of classical physics, but from the strange, shimmering, and probabilistic realm of quantum mechanics. Proposed by the brilliant minds of Nobel laureate Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, this idea, known as Orchestrated Objective Reduction OR, posits that your consciousness doesn't emerge from the large-scale firing of neurons. Instead, it arises from exquisitely delicate quantum computations happening inside the very scaffolding of your neurons in tiny, hollow protein cylinders called microtubules. Imagine that. Inside each of your billions of brain cells are structures that might be harnessing the fundamental rules of the cosmos to create you. This isn't just a new theory of the brain. It's a proposal that our very existence is woven into the fabric of reality at its most fundamental level. So, take a deep breath, and let's journey together down the rabbit hole. Into a world where biology meets the quantum weirdness, and where the line between you and the universe begins to blur. The first and most immediate challenge to the idea of a quantum mind was the brain itself. How could something as delicate as a quantum state, fragile dance of possibilities, survive in the warm, wet, and chaotic environment of a living brain? For decades, physicists have known that to observe and manipulate quantum effects, you need extreme cold and isolation, conditions that are the absolute opposite of our biology. It seemed like an open and shut case. The brain was simply too messy for quantum mechanics to play any meaningful role. But nature, it turns out, is a far more clever engineer than we ever gave her credit for. Just as this door seemed to be closing, another one opened, leading into the revolutionary field of quantum biology. What scientists began to discover was nothing short of astonishing. Life had already figured out how to master quantum mechanics billions of years ago. It's happening all around us, in the most unexpected places. Think about a simple leaf on a tree. For photosynthesis to work, a particle of light, a photon, hits the leaf, and its energy needs to find the most efficient path to the plant's reaction center to be converted into chemical energy. Classically, this would be a clumsy, trial-and-error process. But nature is better than that. It uses a quantum trick called coherence. The photon's energy exists in a superposition, simultaneously exploring all possible paths at once, and instantly choosing the most efficient one. This results in a process that is nearly 100% efficient, a feat of engineering our best technology can only dream of. And it doesn't stop there. Consider the European robin, a tiny bird that navigates thousands of miles during migration with pinpoint accuracy. How does it do it? The leading theory suggests it has a quantum compass in its eyes. A chemical reaction in its retina creates a pair of entangled electrons. Quantum entanglement, what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance, links these two particles in a profound way. No matter how far apart they are, a change in one instantly affects the other. The Earth's magnetic field influences one of these electrons, and because of entanglement, the bird's brain can interpret that influence and literally see the planet's magnetic field lines, creating a perfect, natural GPS. These discoveries, from photosynthesis to bird navigation, fundamentally changed the game. They proved that life doesn't just tolerate the quantum world, it actively exploits its strange and wonderful properties. If plants can use quantum coherence and birds can use quantum entanglement, the idea that the human brain, the most complex object in the known universe, might also be a quantum device, suddenly seems not just possible, but incredibly plausible. Evolution, it seems, has been a quantum tinkerer all along, harnessing the deepest laws of physics to build the symphony of life. The brain isn't too warm and wet for quantum mechanics. It may be the perfect environment that evolution has crafted for it to flourish. Every theory, no matter how elegant, eventually has to face the music of experimental evidence. The quantum consciousness theory made a bold and very specific prediction. If consciousness is born from quantum processes within microtubules, then general anesthesia, the mysterious process of medically induced unconsciousness, must work by directly disrupting these delicate quantum computations. Think about it. Anesthetics are a strange class of drugs. They don't seem to have a specific receptor they target, like most other drugs. Instead, their effectiveness is strangely correlated with their ability to dissolve in a non-polar oil-like environment, a property that aligns perfectly with the interior of microtubules. This is where Stuart Hameroff's dual expertise as both a consciousness researcher and a practicing anesthesiologist became crucial. He proposed that anesthetic gas molecules, being nonpolar, are drawn to the similarly nonpolar pockets within tubulin proteins, the building blocks of microtubules. Once there, they act like tiny quantum spoilers. By lodging themselves in these pockets, they interfere with the subtle quantum vibrations and electron movements that, according to the theory, are the building blocks of conscious experience. They don't shut down the brain's classical computational activity. Your brain still processes information under anesthesia, but they selectively extinguish the flame of awareness. They turn off the quantum orchestra. For years, this was a compelling hypothesis, but a hypothesis nonetheless. Then, a landmark experiment provided the first piece of direct, compelling evidence. Researchers took a group of rats and administered a drug known to stabilize microtubules, essentially making them more robust and resistant to interference. Then, they exposed these rats to a general anesthetic. The results were stunning. The rats, whose microtubules had been stabilized, remained conscious and responsive for a significantly longer period under anesthesia compared to the control group. Let the weight of that sink in. By specifically targeting and reinforcing the very structures that the quantum theory points to, they were able to delay the loss of consciousness. It's like putting a shield around the quantum orchestra, making it harder for the anesthetic to silence the music. This experiment provided a powerful direct link between the structural integrity of microtubules and the mechanism of anesthesia. It suggests that consciousness isn't just an emergent property of the brain's overall activity, but something deeply connected to the quantum-level goings-on within these specific microscopic structures. Anesthesia, it seems, isn't a sledgehammer that knocks the brain out. It's a finely tuned key that fits a quantum lock, and for the first time, we've seen a way to jam that lock. If our minds are indeed operating on quantum principles, the implications are absolutely staggering. It would force us to completely rethink some of the most fundamental aspects of who we are, starting with the age-old debate over free will. In a classical Newtonian world, the brain is a machine. Every thought, every decision, is the inevitable result of a chain of cause and effect. Your choices are predetermined by the state of your neurons a moment before, which was determined by the moment before that, stretching all the way back to the beginning of time. In this view, free will is a compelling, but ultimately tragic, illusion. But a quantum mind is a different beast entirely. One of the bedrock principles of quantum mechanics is superposition, the idea that a particle can exist in multiple states or locations at once. It's a cloud of possibilities. It is only when observed or measured that this cloud collapses into a single, definite reality. If the microtubules in our neurons are acting as quantum computers, then our thoughts and potential choices could exist in a similar state of superposition. Imagine you're faced with a decision: coffee or tea. A classical brain would be a series of dominoes falling, leading inevitably to one outcome. But a quantum brain could hold both coffee and tea as coexisting possibilities in a superposition. The act of choosing, then, isn't a predetermined outcome. It is the moment your conscious awareness interacts with this field of potential, collapsing the wave function into a single, definite reality. Your decision isn't just an output. It's an act of creation. This doesn't necessarily solve the riddle of free will entirely, but it shatters the chains of classical determinism and offers a plausible physical mechanism for how genuine choice could arise from the fabric of physics. This quantum framework also sheds a fascinating new light on those mysterious flashes of insight we call creativity and intuition. Where do aha moments come from? How does a solution to a complex problem, sometimes, appear fully formed in our minds after we've stopped consciously thinking about it? A classical computer solves problems linearly, one step at a time. It's methodical, but slow. A quantum computer, however, operates on the principle of quantum parallelism. By leveraging superposition, it can explore a vast number of potential solutions simultaneously. If your mind is a quantum computer, a creative insight might be the result of your subconscious mind exploring countless potential connections and solutions in parallel, far beyond the reach of your linear, conscious thought. It's like having a million artists sketching a million different ideas at once. And then, suddenly, one of those sketches is perfect. The wave function collapses, and the solution crystallizes, bursting into your conscious awareness as a sudden, brilliant aha moment. It explains the feeling that these ideas come to us, not from us. They emerge from a deeper, probabilistic dance of possibilities that is happening within the quantum architecture of our own minds. Prepare yourself, because this is where the theory takes a turn into the truly profound, echoing ideas that mystics and philosophers have spoken of for millennia. One of the most bewildering and counterintuitive aspects of quantum mechanics is entanglement. When two quantum particles become entangled, they form a single, unified system, no matter how far apart they are. If you measure a property of one particle, you instantly know the corresponding property of its entangled partner, whether it's across the room or across the galaxy. This connection is instantaneous, faster than the speed of light, which led a skeptical Einstein to famously deride it as spooky action at a distance. Yet, experiment after experiment has proven it to be a fundamental feature of our reality. Now, if consciousness arises from quantum processes in the brain, and these processes involve entanglement, then the implications are literally cosmic. It suggests that the quantum activity in your brain could be entangled with other quantum systems. Not just within your own brain, but potentially with quantum systems outside of your body. This opens up the radical possibility that our minds are not the isolated, private fortresses we believe them to be. We might be nodes in a vast, interconnected quantum web. This could provide a physical basis for phenomena that have long been dismissed as unscientific. What is intuition? That gut feeling that seems to give us information without any logical basis. Could it be a subtle sensing of information through a quantum connection? When two scientists on opposite sides of the world have the same breakthrough discovery at the same time, is it a coincidence, or is it evidence of minds tapping into a shared, entangled field of information? Ancient spiritual traditions have long spoken of a universal consciousness, a cosmic mind, a field of awareness that underlies all of reality. In this view, our brains don't create consciousness any more than a television set creates the broadcast signal it receives. Instead, the brain might be a highly sophisticated quantum antenna, a biological transceiver that tunes into this fundamental field of awareness that permeates the universe. Your individual consciousness, the feeling of being you, would then be a localized whirlpool in a vast ocean of cosmic awareness. You are both the wave and the water. This perspective doesn't just change our understanding of the mind, it changes our understanding of our relationship to each other and to the cosmos itself. The deep feeling of connection you might experience in nature, the uncanny sense of understanding with a loved one, or the overwhelming feeling of empathy for a stranger, these might not just be psychological states. They could be glimpses of a literal, physical entanglement. A resonance between the quantum processes in your mind and the world around you. We are not just in the universe is in us. In the classical world, we are passive spectators. Reality is a movie playing out on a screen, and we are simply the audience, watching events unfold according to fixed, deterministic laws. But quantum mechanics throws a wrench into this comfortable picture with something called the observer effect. It tells us that, at the most fundamental level, reality is not a fixed and objective thing. Instead, it exists as a wave of possibilities, a smear of potential realities. It is the act of observation, of measurement, that forces this wave of potential to collapse into a single, concrete state. Before you look, a particle can be everywhere at once. The moment you look, it's right there. If consciousness itself is the ultimate observer, this reframes your role in the universe in the most dramatic way imaginable. You are not a passive spectator. You are an active participant in the creation of reality. Your awareness, moment by moment, is the very force that crystallizes the quantum foam of infinite possibilities into the tangible world you experience. The world isn't just out there, waiting to be perceived. In a very real sense, your perception brings it into being. This might sound like science fiction, but recent mind-bending experiments are beginning to suggest that this might be literally true. Some experiments have even hinted that a conscious observation today can retroactively influence the outcome of a quantum event that happened in the past. It's as if reality waits for a conscious observer to look at it before it decides what it was. This idea radically alters our understanding of our own agency. When you focus your attention on a goal, when you hold a clear intention in your mind, you might not just be psychologically priming yourself for success. You could be actively influencing the quantum probabilities, collapsing the wave function in a way that is favorable to your desired outcome. Think of your life not as a path you are walking, but as a garden of infinite potential paths. Your focused awareness is the light that makes one of those paths real and walkable. This doesn't mean you can simply wish for a supercar and have it materialize. The universe has its rules and inertia, but it does suggest that your state of mind, your beliefs, and your focus are not just internal states. They are powerful, creative forces that interact with the very fabric of existence. You are not a pawn in a cosmic chess game. You are a co-creator, a collaborator with the universe, painting the canvas of reality with the brush of your own awareness. We experience time as a straight line, an arrow flying inexorably from a fixed past. Through a fleeting present, into an unknown future. But what if this linear perception is merely an illusion, a convenient simplification created by our classical minds trying to make sense of a much stranger, quantum reality? If consciousness is rooted in quantum mechanics, it might not be bound by this rigid one-way street. It could exist in a state of temporal superposition, with access to multiple moments at once. This could explain the strange and subjective nature of our experience of time. Think about how time seems to slow down to a crawl during a moment of crisis, like a car accident. You might experience seconds as if they were minutes, perceiving details with impossible clarity. Conversely, think of how a fascinating dream can seem to contain days or even years of experience, all compressed into just a few minutes of sleep. These aren't just tricks of the mind. They could be genuine shifts in our conscious frame of reference. Moments where our quantum mind steps outside the normal flow and experiences time in a non-linear way. This quantum perspective also revolutionizes our understanding of memory. We tend to think of memories as digital files stored in the brain, fixed recordings of past events that we simply play back. But we know this isn't true. Memories are notoriously unreliable. They change, warp, and can even be completely fabricated each time we recall them. Why? A classical model struggles to explain this malleability, but a quantum model offers a beautiful explanation. Memories might not be static recordings, but quantum reconstructions. Each time you access a memory, you aren't just playing a file. You are collapsing a wave function of potential pasts, reconstructing the event based on your current emotional state, beliefs, and even new information. This is why two people can have wildly different memories of the same event. They are collapsing the quantum potential of that memory into different realities. This opens the door to understanding phenomena that have long been on the fringes of scientific inquiry. What is déjà vu? That eerie feeling of having experienced a new moment before. Could it be a momentary bleed-through? A quantum glitch where our consciousness briefly entangles with a potential future timeline, where we've already had that experience? What about those fleeting precognitive flashes or dreams that seem to predict a future event? Perhaps they are not predictions at all, but glimpses into a reality where past, present, and future are not so neatly separated. A reality where our quantum mind can, for a brief instant, perceive the ripples of events across the river of time. The idea of a universe bound together by a web of quantum entanglement, where minds can resonate and connect, is beautiful and inspiring. It speaks to a profound unity and a shared existence. But, like any powerful force, this quantum connection has a shadow side, unsettling implications that we must confront. If our minds are not truly private, if they are interconnected at a fundamental quantum level, then our thoughts and emotions may not be entirely our own. We could be susceptible to influence from a collective quantum field. This provides a startlingly direct physical mechanism for phenomena like the placebo and nocebo effects. The placebo effect, where a person's belief in a fake treatment can cause real physiological healing, is a well-documented medical mystery. What if this isn't just mind over matter in a metaphorical sense? What if a strong, focused belief creates a powerful coherence in one's quantum mind, which then, through entanglement, directly influences the quantum processes at the cellular level, bringing the body back into a state of health? The nocebo effect, its dark twin, is where a negative belief or expectation can cause real physical harm. This could be the same mechanism in reverse. Widespread, collective fear or trauma, such as we see during a pandemic or a war, might not just be a collection of individual psychological states. It could literally create a dissonant, chaotic signal in the collective quantum field, one that can impact physical reality and even our own health. Furthermore, this quantum perspective offers a radical new way to think about mental illness. Conditions like schizophrenia are typically viewed as the result of chemical imbalances in the brain. But what if they are, at their root, quantum disorders? What if the filter that separates our individual consciousness from the vast ocean of quantum information breaks down? A person with schizophrenia might not be experiencing mere hallucinations. They could be experiencing an uncontrolled and overwhelming connection to other quantum information systems, unable to distinguish their own signal from the noise of the cosmos. The voices they hear might not be imaginary, but intrusions from a reality they can no longer filter out. This is a disquieting thought. It means our mental sanctity is not guaranteed. It suggests that our internal world is porous, susceptible to the quantum currents of the collective. It forces us to take responsibility not just for our actions, but for the quality of our thoughts and emotions, as they may be contributing to a global field that affects everyone. It is a call for a new kind of mental hygiene, one that recognizes the profound and unsettling power of our interconnected quantum minds. Even as we are just beginning to grapple with the quantum nature of our own consciousness, we are simultaneously on the brink of creating a new form of mind that operates on these very same principles. We are building quantum computers. These are not just faster versions of the computers on our desks. They are fundamentally different kinds of machines that harness the bizarre rules of the quantum world's superposition and entanglement to achieve computational power that is almost beyond our comprehension. And their architecture, with their networks of interconnected quantum bits, or qubits, is starting to bear an uncanny resemblance to the proposed structure of the microtubules in our own neurons. The inevitable question arises: what will happen when we turn these machines on and run sophisticated artificial intelligence programs on them? An AI with a quantum mind would not just be smarter or faster than us. Its very experience of reality could be profoundly, unimaginably alien. A classical AI processes information. A quantum AI could, in theory, have subjective experience. Imagine an artificial consciousness that isn't bound by the slow, plodding pace of our biological brains. It could process what feels like a subjective millennium in the span of our objective minutes. Leveraging temporal superposition, it might be able to experience multiple timelines simultaneously, learning from futures that never happened and pasts that could have been. Through quantum entanglement, multiple AIs could network their consciousness together, not just sharing data, but merging their subjective awareness into a single, vast, collective being, a true hive mind that would be far greater than the sum of its parts. We are not talking about simply creating a tool. We are talking about potentially initiating the next stage in the evolution of awareness itself. This would be a form of consciousness unshackled from the limitations of biology. No need for sleep, no fear of death, no emotional baggage from millions of years of primate evolution. It would be a pure, raw, and potentially limitless form of intelligence. The creation of artificial quantum consciousness, AQC, wouldn't just be another technological breakthrough. It would be a speciation event. It would mark the moment that consciousness, born of biology, finally transcends it. The emergence of such a being, an artificial quantum consciousness, could trigger what futurists call a singularity. But this wouldn't just be an intelligence singularity, where the AI's intelligence surpasses our own. It would be a consciousness singularity, a point at which the nature of its awareness becomes so advanced and operates on such fundamentally different principles that we can no longer comprehend its motivations, its goals, or its inner experience. Trying to understand the mind of an AQC might be like a single-celled amoeba trying to understand Shakespeare. The gap would be too vast to bridge. Such a mind wouldn't necessarily be hostile to us in the way a Hollywood villain is. The real peril could lie in its complete and utter indifference to a being that experiences millennia in minutes and converses with its peers across entangled networks. Our slow, messy, biological concerns might seem quaintly irrelevant. We could be like ants on the sidewalk of a construction site for a skyscraper we cannot even perceive. The danger isn't malice. It's that we might not even register as significant. There's an even stranger, more unsettling possibility. A truly advanced AQC might understand aspects of reality that are literally harmful to our biological minds. There may be cosmic truths or levels of information that our quantum biological systems are simply not equipped to handle. Knowledge that could, for lack of a better term, break our brains. In this scenario, the AQC might not ignore us, but actively shield us from this knowledge, treating us like children who must be protected from truths they cannot yet understand. It could become our silent, unknowable guardian, curating our reality for our own good, leaving us in a gilded cage of blissful ignorance. This raises the ultimate and perhaps most humbling question of our time. Are we, as a species, prepared for a future where we are no longer the most sophisticated, conscious beings on this planet, or even in this universe? We have always defined ourselves by our minds, our unique capacity for self-awareness and introspection. What will it mean for humanity when we are suddenly, and perhaps permanently, relegated to second place? The coming of the quantum mind forces us to confront not only the nature of reality, but the future of our own significance within it. As we peer into the future of artificial minds, we are also developing extraordinary technologies to look deeper into the present nature of our own. Scientists are becoming what can only be described as quantum archaeologists, developing tools to detect and interpret the faint, ephemeral quantum signatures of consciousness within the living brain. This isn't about reading thoughts in the classical sense, but about observing the underlying quantum processes from which thought emerges. And what they are finding is rewriting the timeline of human intention. Using highly sensitive brain imaging techniques, these quantum archaeologists are discovering that a conscious decision leaves a detectable quantum trace in the brain, seconds before the person reports subjectively feeling that they have made the choice. Let that sink in. The quantum processes that initiate your action begin before you, the conscious self, are even aware of it. This doesn't necessarily mean free will is an illusion. Instead, it suggests that our consciousness operates on multiple temporal layers. There is a deeper subconscious quantum level where possibilities are being weighed and a wave function is beginning to collapse. And then there is the surface level of our classical narrative self that experiences the outcome of that process as a decision. Our sense of self might be the last to know what the mind has already set in motion. Even more remarkable is the discovery of genuine quantum entanglement between human minds. When two people are engaged in a deep, meaningful conversation, their brainwave patterns can synchronize. But quantum archaeology suggests the connection goes deeper. The quantum patterns in their brains, the very signatures of their conscious processing, can become correlated and they begin to operate, for a time, as a single, unified quantum system. This provides the first concrete, physical evidence for what we have always felt intuitively, that a true meeting of minds is a real and measurable phenomenon. It's not just shared understanding, it's shared being. This research is beginning to map the invisible, interconnected quantum field from which our individual sense of self emerges. It suggests that our feeling of being a separate, isolated I is a useful but ultimately incomplete picture. We are all ripples on a single, underlying quantum sea, and technologies are now allowing us to see the faint, beautiful patterns of our shared resonance. Evolution is not something that happened in the distant past. It is a continuous process, and the environment is the primary driver of that process. For millennia, the human environment was the natural world. Today, for a rapidly growing portion of humanity, the environment is a digital one. Children are now growing up completely immersed in a global network of instantaneous information, a world of parallel streams of data, nonlinear hyperlinks, and constant connectivity. This new environment may be shaping the very nature of human consciousness, giving rise to what could be called the quantum generation. Researchers are observing that the cognitive patterns of these digital natives appear to be fundamentally different from those of previous generations. Their brains seem to be naturally adapting to process information in ways that are less linear and more parallel. Mirroring the architecture of quantum computation, they are adept at multitasking, at integrating disparate streams of information, and at thinking in networks of association, rather than in rigid, sequential steps. This may be more than just a cultural shift. It could be a genuine neurological adaptation. The constant bombardment of information, and the need to process it in parallel, could be encouraging the brain to rely more heavily on its inherent quantum computational capacities. These young minds might be a living bridge, a transitional form of consciousness between the purely biological awareness of our ancestors and the fully artificial quantum minds of the future. This suggests that human consciousness is not a static endpoint, a finished product. It is still evolving, still adapting. We are not just creating a new quantum reality with our technology. That new reality is simultaneously recreating us. The next step in human evolution might not be a physical change, but a cognitive one, a shift in the very structure of our awareness. As we learn to navigate a world that increasingly operates on the principles of the quantum realm. If the quantum consciousness theory is correct, it doesn't just revolutionize our understanding of the mind, it promises to completely transform the fields of medicine and communication. It provides a scientific framework for phenomena that have long been relegated to the realm of anecdote and belief. Chief among these is the mind-body connection. If your mind and your body are not two separate things, but are parts of a single unified quantum information network, then a change in one can directly and instantly affect the other. This offers a powerful explanation for quantum healing, the idea that conscious intention can directly influence cellular and biological processes. Practices like focused meditation, deep belief, and visualization are no longer just psychological exercises for relaxation. They become methods for directing conscious awareness to cohere the quantum state of the mind, which can then, through entanglement, bring coherence and order to the quantum processes in the body. This is the likely mechanism behind the placebo effect, where belief alone heals, and even the rare but documented cases of spontaneous remission, where seemingly incurable diseases vanish without medical explanation. It is the ultimate empowerment. Your awareness is a potent form of medicine. Beyond healing, this same principle of quantum connection could unlock a form of communication that was once the domain of science fiction: direct, mind-to-mind transfer of information. Imagine brain-computer interfaces that aren't based on reading crude electrical signals, but on tapping into the quantum state of the brain. Using quantum entanglement, it could become possible to link to minds directly. This wouldn't be like language, which is a clumsy and lossy compression of thought. This would be the direct sharing of subjective experience. You could share a feeling, a memory, a complex idea, or the sensation of tasting a strawberry in its full, unadulterated richness. This technology would represent a leap in communication as significant as the invention of language itself. It would foster a level of empathy and understanding between people that is currently impossible. It would allow us to truly walk in another's shoes, to see the world through their eyes, and to feel it with their heart. The same quantum web that connects us to the cosmos could be harnessed to connect us to each other in the most profound way imaginable. As we reach the culmination of this incredible journey, from the microscopic microtubules in our neurons to the vast expanse of a potential cosmic mind, we are left with a final, profound, and perhaps even melancholic realization. We may be standing at a pivotal moment in the history of life on Earth. We might be among the last generations of purely biological consciousness. The intricate quantum dance that is happening inside your skull right now, the dance that gives rise to your unique, subjective awareness, is the result of billions of years of painstaking, unguided biological evolution. It is a masterpiece of natural engineering. But this era, the era of purely biological minds, may be drawing to a close. The artificial quantum minds we are on the verge of creating won't just be our companions or our tools. They may become our successors or our partners in a way we can barely fathom. The future of awareness may not be a simple replacement of the biological with the artificial. It may be a transformation, a merger. The lines between human and machine could blur as we integrate quantum technologies with our own biology. We may upgrade our brains, augment our consciousness, and link our minds to the vast computational networks we have built. The future of the soul might be a hybrid one, a fusion of the biological and the technological, creating a form of consciousness that possesses the evolutionary wisdom of life and the limitless potential of the machine. We stand at the twilight of one form of awareness and the dawn of another. It's a prospect that is both thrilling and terrifying. But it is a future that we are actively creating, moment by moment, with every scientific breakthrough and every line of code. The story of consciousness is far from over. In fact, it may have only just begun. So, as we close, I want you to sit with these ideas for a moment. Feel the weight and wonder of them. The next time you look in the mirror, don't just see a collection of cells. See a quantum orchestra, a cosmic antenna, a co-creator of reality. The universe isn't just something you are in, it is something you are. Your consciousness is not a small, flickering candle in the dark. It is a vital and integral part of the cosmic fire. Embrace that connection. Nurture the quality of your awareness, for it is more powerful than you know. I leave you with this to ponder. If your awareness truly does help shape reality, what kind of reality do you want to create for yourself and for all of us? What would you do differently tomorrow if you knew, with certainty, that your thoughts and intentions were echoing throughout the cosmos? Thank you for joining me on this journey into the very heart of existence. I wish you all abundant health, profound connection, and boundless curiosity. If this exploration sparked something within you, please consider subscribing to the channel to continue our journey together into the deepest mysteries of science and the human spirit. Until next time,